I'm Valentina Karga. I'm an artist coming from Greece, but I'm based in Berlin the last 6 years. I'm trained as an architect, but when I moved to Berlin, I got a scholarship from the University of the Arts to do a postgraduate program on interdisciplinary arts. So I was doing something that was combining architecture, art, biology, and theory. That kind of led me into building up my artistic practice as it is. First of all, I always say that I really like being an amateur in each project I'm doing. I like to experiment with something new because I really like this moment of discovering something that you don't fully know, and then it's always more pure somehow, this moment of creation with something that you don't know so well, because if it's something that you know, you might be repeating things. So I don't have a specific medium that I'm working with, and every time I just choose mainly the context and the philosophical topic, and then I see what medium could communicate this topic the best. For example, there is the Temple of Holy Shit that I have made together with Collective Disaster, which is an art and architecture collective, and it's a monumental compost toilet in a public park in Brussels. And its goal was to produce compost soil out of the visitors' bodily waste. Another example is the Summer School for Applied Autonomy, where we were, it was a simulation for thinking education, first of all, differently. So I like to think of my projects as simulations. I'm interested to make art that has a kind of potential impact on another milieu apart from the art world. For our coming community, the idea was to basically do a research together with more people about what we think about values today. You know, is it something that is still important in the way we structure our societies or our neighborhoods or our families even? Or is it something that has lost its meaning in today's world? The world as we know it exists only in our minds. We are constantly creating and updating our commonly agreed reality by communication and our everyday interactions. In this way, we have created not just forms, but also a whole set of psychic, social, and philosophical protocols that organize our world conceptually. So if that's the case, and if we realize that, that gives us a tremendous power to change everything, if we would like to. It's just a matter of how to find the way to communicate these changes.
Mä toivon, että tuleva yhteisö olisi tasa-arvoinen ja sitten toisaalta, kun tasa-arvo lähtee niin kuin tavallaan ulkoapäin, niin että me oltaisiin niin kuin vertaisia, eli vertaisuus olisi se meidän yhteinen arvomme.
Tavallaan kansallisvaltioiden keinotekoiset rajat on murtumassa.
Meidän pitää niin kuin uskoa meidän alkujuuriin.
Ja pitää sitä hyvin tärkeänä, että luonto ja ihmiset ovat tasapainossa.
pitäisi myös hyväksyä se, että kaikkeen ei pysty vaikuttaa.
So the coming community is a multitude of different values created by different people in very different styles, but still constitutes a whole by putting all these things in a pillar. And that's like a symbolism to show that, you know, everything, we can accept everything, and no matter how different we are, if we come together, we can create something strong. So imagine a conceptual pillar created out of a multitude of different values and ideas, values that are already present in this world. We believe that the force of this pillar will break through the barrier of the fear of change and come to support our coming community. I chose the format of a totem for two reasons. One is because totems used to be symbols of the values of a community. So they were not just these magical spiritual objects that we think they were, but they were really showing what does the certain community, what is it that brings this certain community together. And I was wondering very simply, what would a contemporary totem look like if we take a moment to reflect on our current values or on the values that we would like to celebrate more. And then the other reason was really practical, because I thought that I was thinking to make a collaborative sculpture with the people here, and I wanted to give them enough freedom and enough agency for each one of their pieces. So I thought that everybody should have complete freedom for their piece, but then by putting them together, we can still create a whole. So the structure of a totem allows us to do that. The first task I asked them to think is to think of a value that they would like to bring forward in our coming community, and think of it as think of a form of a helper spirit that could help them bring this value forward, and visualize this in the form of clay. And then the week after, while we were finishing up details of the sculptures, we also shot this video where each one of them explained in front of the camera what is the value they've been working on, and kind of building a narrative around it.
Mä oon oppinut, että kuinka tärkeää on hyväksyä ihmisten erilaisuus.
Ja mun mielestä ymmärrys tulee parhaiten semmoisesta lempeästä tutkimuksesta, että opitaan ymmärtämään lempeästi toisiamme, eri kulttuureja, erilaisia eliöitä, erilaisia ekosysteemejä.
Ja on tärkeää, että tuleva yhteisömme keskittyy mahdollisuuksiin uhkakuvien luomisen sijaan. Ja se on sellainen paikka, jossa jokainen tulee kuulluksi, pienet ja suuret.
Our coming community, I think, is already inherent in this world. It's just that is hidden under many layers of unnecessary things that we are trying to unlearn, for example, or to leave behind, and to break this barrier of the fear of change. That's the biggest challenge, I think.
My name is Riikka Kuoppala. I'm a Finnish artist. Actually, I'm originally from Helsinki, but now I've been living in Brussels. I've been making a lot of fictional films, short films, quite often related to Finnish history somehow, and kind of the way we are looking at history from today's perspective or like an individual's point of view. But then I've also had a kind of socially engaged practice, like I've been making works with people.
My name is Thomas Martin, so I'm French sociologist. My work is more with social activities and especially with persons in social and economic difficulties.
The Maunula Film Project is an experimental community film. We don't know exactly what it means yet. So it's not fiction, it's not documentary. It's something in between, maybe.
Me ottaa sipseen. Missä on sipsi? Mä tiedän missä ne on. Ei kun mä ostaa sipseen. Okei. Mä tiedän missä ne on. Tulkaa tän.
We wanted to work with retired people and young people between 10 and 12 to have a vision of the future with the children and a historical vision with retired people, and we think it's a good way to share some experiences.
Because usually when children and older people are discussing, it's mostly a relationship between a grandparent and a grandchild. And then there's this kind of family relationships that are kind of hard to get past. And we wanted to have this discussion where these two different age groups, they would come together and be equals and then talk about like what would they like to have in the neighborhood, or what are the things that in the city planning could be developed, or like how they could take decisions together and see each other as peers.
Hei, millainen on Maunulan lippu?
Se on vihreä reunus ja valkoinen. Mikä on näköistä?
In the Maunula Film Project we have had workshops every week, and we had this group that was 6 children and 6 retired people, and we have been doing a lot of different activities. We have been drawing, we have been playing games.
We declared the independence of Maunula.
We had asked 2 participants to come in the beginning of the workshop as a surprise and say that, okay, now we have some great news, Maunula has become independent today, and we have been talking to the press already, and now let's write a constitution.
Something comes out of
The borders of Maunula, they are main roads as they are now. We won't have any customs. Anybody can enter, anybody can go out. To become a citizen, it's enough that you have lived in Maunula or you live in Maunula now. You can't lose the citizenship. So everybody is welcome. But there are a few basic rules. You have to say hello to everybody on the street, for example. And you have to keep the place clean and things like this. So.
Miettikääpäs vaikka Maunula 10 tai 20 vuoden päästä, mitä täällä voisi olla.
Enemmän somaleita.
Ja asutteko te täällä 10 vuotta?
Mä asun 71, mä asun Piimeksessä silloin. Mä tuun aina sun Maunula.
Mä rakastan tätä paikkaa. Mä rakastan tätä vanhaa Maunulaa. Ne, jotka on paikallisia ainakin, ne ajaa niin ihanasti, ne päästää suojat, niin kuin pysähtyy aina.
Moi, kello on nyt jotain 1 ja mä lähden nyt mun siskon, tai no mä en tiedä tuleeko Sirat mun mukaan, mutta mun kaverin ja minun kanssani. Ja sitten jos Sirat tulee mukaan.
And then the participants have been filming the whole time, and they have been filming at home as well.
Tänään on eka päivä, kun alkoi sataa lunta tosi paljon. Ja nyt mä kuvaan tässä. Mä oon mun kotona, mä kuvaan ikkunasta.
Sometimes it was very interesting because all participants can use the camera, but some retired people, they know how to use, but they are not very comfortable. I saw sometimes children explain how you can film or something like that. It was very nice, this experience, to see that. Yeah.
We gave some really basic tools. We didn't want too much to explain how to film, because we also wanted the participants to create their kind of own language or find their own ways. There were people, I think, involved who had never really shot any videos, and I think in that case it's just really nice to see what they find with the camera when they don't have all these rules that are in the film, in like kind of traditional filmmaking present. So if you don't know them, what are you going to film? So I think there's some quite interesting results actually. And then we have also been filming ourselves some material about different people in Maunula and different kind of self-organized groups or different projects that we found interesting.
Virkamies kysyy, että haluatko liikennevalon, kyllä vai ei, tai että mihin haluat sen liikennevalon. Ja sitten se, niin kuin se todellinen kysymys, mikä sillä asukkailla oli, niin se ei tulekaan esille. Sen takia asukkaat menee niin kuin näiden poliitikkojen luo ja kertoo, että me haluttaisiin tämmöistä ja tämmöistä, mutta poliitikot sanoo, että me voidaan vaikuttaa vain tiettyihin asioihin, niihin, mitkä meidän listalla on.
There were some things about Maunula that were like kind of constantly coming up, these local democratic projects, and also like this kind of tradition of doing things together. That the inhabitants are self-organizing a lot of projects, so that was kind of what caught our attention, I think, and it was also the subject of our project.
Siinä voi joku, joka tulee myös sinne uuteen ikäpuolellaan, asumaan niihin korkeisiin taloihin. Joku vähän aikaa siellä asusta ja ajattelee ja katselee, että hei, tuolla Maunulassa on paljon rauhallisempaa. Ne. Ja muuttaa tänne. Osittain jotkut.
Ne, jotkut. Joilla on varaa.
Joilla on varaa, koska tämän arvo tulee nousemaan.
Totta kai.
Tässä on Maunulan puiston palstaviljelyalue. Meillä on 250 palstaviljelijää täällä.
Jos mä sanon jotain, että se on ihana päivä, ne vastaa heti mulle. Siis täällä on niin näitä puita, kaikki erilaisia. Täällä on toi pähkinäpuu, toi jalopähkinäpuita. Mä oon nähnyt kaikki eläimiä, paitsi enhin.
I have very warm feelings after seeing the film, and it's very clear to see all of the love that all of the different participants of the project have for Maunula.
It looked like people had a really great time, and I think that's really nice. And it's really well made. I think you can see how everybody's way of thinking was included.
Oliko se millainen kokemus olla tekemässä elokuvaa?
No kyllä se oli mun mielestä ihan mukava. Mä tykkään lapsista ja nuorista kovasti. Mulla on itselläkin näitä 3 polvessa, niin mun mielestä oli tosi hauskaa kyllä. Just nämä nuoremmat, niin ne on niin arvaamattomia ja yllätyksellisiä, hauskoja ihmisiä, veikkoja ja tyttöjä, että se oli mun mielestä ihan parasta tässä.
Saataisiko me pyytää kaikki meidän työpäivän osallistuneet tänne lavalle esittäytymään?
Olen Riikka Jäväs.
Mä oon Sharon. Mä oon Aisha. Mä oon Anton. Mä oon Matias. Mä oon Nadia.
Matti Laskemaho.
Mä oon Siraat.
Antti.
Adia, our daughter, she didn't get a chance to participate in any such events previously, and we are originally from India. So after moving into Helsinki, I think she was not getting enough chance to mingle with local people. So I think this also gave her an opportunity to speak to not just kids, but different age groups, and also I think that helped in thinking developing some thinking ability that what the modern future should look like, thinking towards Maunula. So that was just an example, but I think that also helped kids to develop this sort of thinking ability and how to work in a group with different multicultural environment. So that was pretty good.
Se oli mun mielestä sairaan kivaa. Aluksi vähän jännittävän sairauskin. Mutta myöhemmin se on ihan sairaan kivaa ja oli kiva olla osallistunut siihen.
Mikä oli hauskinta?
No hauskinta oli varmaan kun kuvattiin noita. Se oli hauskinta.
Oli ehkä hauskinta se, kun sai viedä kotiin kamerat ja sai kuvat kotona kaikkea.
Hirveän ihana ja sympaattinen. Me ei olla Maunulasta, niin se oli todella hyvä myyntipuhe Maunulaan muuttamiselle.
Joo. Tykkäsin. Tosi hieno. Liikuttavaa suorassa.
Minä kehun heitä, että he on tehneet hienon projektin kyllä. Minusta se oli hyvin oikein onnistunut. Vaikka me amatööriä olemme siinä kaikki, mutta eihän tarvitse ammattinäyttelijöitä aina olla. Saadaan hyvää työtä tehtyä ihan sanotaan tavallisten ihmisten näyttelemisellä.
I feel good. It's like I don't know. I am very happy to see the works today of the premiere with the participants, and it's like a concretization. It's a final work. So yeah, it's good. I'm happy. Yeah.
Hyvä fiilis. Oli hauskaa. Mun mielestä ihmisiä tuli paikalle. Se oli musta kiva, että aika paljon kyseltiin, että mistä voisi nähdä uudestaan ja sillä lailla, että maunulalaisia ehkä kiinnostaa enemmänkin. Niin tosi kiva. Kiva.
I'm Jobina Tinnemans. I'm Dutch from the south of the Netherlands, from Limburg, and I moved to the UK. I'm a contemporary classical composer coming from a sort of classical mixed with electronics background. But I study the arts, so I use a lot of background of working in paper and textiles and colours, all sorts of materials. Just mixing genres and mixing platforms and disciplines. I started working with prepared knitting needles because I was looking for random timing in music. I think in a soundscape, in a natural environment, also just in an urban scape, there's a lot of coincidences, and it's the coincidences that I like. I was thinking metal on metal randomly, and I came to knitting needles, but I'm not a knitter myself. It was a means to an end to make this work. I made a previous piece for the Maher Festival in New York, where I used sounds from my environment that I lived in Pembrokeshire, in Wales. And now this time I recorded soundscapes and sounds from the Maunula area, which is sort of a combination of nature and urban sounds. And then I cut those sounds in tiny little pieces and turn them into instruments. So each prepared knitting needle, each knitting performer does one sound. Those are the knitters, people from the community from Maunula. In the Saunabari there is a group of knitters that meet weekly, and we went there and met up with the knitters and asked them who would like to be performing. And then we had some test workshop in the Saunabari. It's wonderful to sort of have people test the knitting needles for the first time. Because every time the faces go like, is that me? It's like, yeah, it is, it's really, really fun. I asked them to knit something colourful, as if it is the illustration to the story, because I knew I was going to work with folk stories. And if you have a book, you have these letters and you have these lovely colourful drawings with them. And I thought, well, if each knitter could be one illustration. But then in the colours of the sound that they are knitting. So one lady is knitting the stream and she is knitting an illustration in all blues of the stream. The singer is a very special lady. Her name is Ilona Koronen. She's teaching at the music university and she specializes in runosong, runolaulu. She tells stories in a singing way and it's also quite funny often. And she will be sort of improvising with the text and the sounds that she hears, and she will ask the stream to start streaming, and she will ask the snow to be walking through the snow to sort of illustrate the story that she's telling. And the story that she's going to perform, we've chosen on the fact that it's about a new building. It's about building something new, a creation story, and that's about building a new instrument, the kantele. But you could translate it to creating a new building, and how somebody's got the idea, involves other people to be democratic and work with it, and then how somebody in a younger generation works with the opportunity, and it continues, you know, and that's, I think, exactly what you would like to do with the Maunula house. I feel there's a connection between knitting, sitting around the fire and telling stories that I really wanted to explore. And I thought, if I start recording all these folk tales and people knitting around them with the story, with the sounds of their environment, I can start mapping out how folk stories are influenced by their environment throughout Europe, throughout a bigger area, and I think that would be wonderful.
Nepä vei mä ruotsin maalle, nepä vein mä Ruotsin maalle. Viskasin Viron saroille, viskasin Viron saroille. Enkä käänty katsomaan, enkä käänty katsomaan, ko 5-6 viikon päästä, 5-6 viikon päästä. Panin orjot katsomaan, mänin itse katsomaan. Oino kykki otrassain, oino kykki otrassain, sinisarvisoaressain. Oino kykki otrassain, sinisarvisuoressain. Otin oinon, toin kotiin. Otin oinon, toin kotiin. Tuli aika päähän panna, tuli aika päähän panna. Otin oinon päästä sarvet, otin oinon päästä sarvet. Syötin oinon, juotin oinon, oinon kyllä läpi verin. Tuli aika päähän panna, otin oinon päästä sarvet. Nepä vein sepän pajalle, nepä vein sepän pajalle. Seppy vein, oot selvy vein, taitavaa takojasein. Seppy vein, oot selvy vein, taitavaa takojasein. Taoppa se miulle kanteloinen, taoppa se miulle kanteloinen. No seppy vein, oot selvy vein, taitavaa seppy vein, ol selvy vein, taitava takojasein. Takopa se miulle, takopa se miulle, takopa se miulle. Takopa se miulle. Se tako se seppä miulle kanteloisen. Mut puuttu kieltä keskimmäistä, puuttu kieltä reunimmaista. Puuttu kannel kielostansa, puuttu kannel kielostansa. No mitä sitten? Puuttu kannel kielostansa, lähimmoista etsimää, lähimmoista etsimää. Käin Suomet, käin saaret, 2 puolen kapriota, 2 puolen kapriota, etsin tuota kielosta. Astuatta putteloin, kävin tietä mie vähäsen, kävin tietä mie vähäsen. Löysinpä neitosen lehosta, hieno helman heinikosta. Löysin neitosen lehosta, hieno helman heinikosta. Aloin neijolta kysellä, annat sie neito tukkiais, hieno helma hiuksiais. Annat sie neito tukkiais, hieno helma hiuksiais. No mitäpä sie neijon tukkasilla, mitäpä sie neijon tukkasilla. Hullu tyyppi tahtoi multa tukkasi. No kantelohon kieloseksi, kantelohon kieloseksi.
My name's Steve Maher. I'm an artist. I moved to Helsinki 3 years ago with my partner who's studying here. I came because why not? But I didn't look at music in my studies and research. When I became a professional artist, it became something that I just couldn't escape. I kept thinking about different scenarios in which music exists, and in different scenarios music could exist, and what kind of environments you could create, with music, or where you could position music, what existing environments you could position music in. Musicians, when they work together, they collaborate. Most musicians don't play on their own. You might sing in the shower on your own, but you are basing the song you're singing on everything that you've heard before, the culture that you're from, and the other cultures that you might have been exposed to. It doesn't matter what type of music, musicians often collaborate. That's kind of what I am trying to do with my art, but I am coming to musicians as a visual artist, not an audience member, not another musician. So maybe I come up with ideas and then I hear what they think, and then I kind of think, okay, maybe we do this, and they go, hey, how about we do this? Okay, let's do that. Now in this project, there is a distinction between the audience, but there's a community of interest which is involved in the project, who are the various groups that are working with me in submitting their music for this new platform for dissemination, which is Heavy Metal Detector. It's a heavy metal detector. We have a normal metal detector which is used by hobbyists to uncover hidden archaeological materials, or even contemporary materials. Beachcombers use them to find cash and jewelry. This is a very, very simple device. This is a hobbyist intro device. Detectors will be set to detect metal in a broad spectrum. And when the detector detects the metal, it sends the beep to the little microchip. That still needs some customization. It's not built immediately just to do what we needed it to do. We have to mount another type of chip on top of that, which can interpret the audio files that we're putting into it. Now, those audio files, those are the submissions that the bands have made.
Meillä oli siinä yksi biisi mukana tuossa Heavy Metal Detectorissa ja sen nimi oli Anubis. Ja se on meidän uudelta levyltä sitten.
Mä sanoin ihan itse tolle Stevelle, että ihan makea idea. Ja en mä koskaan metallipaljastit käyttänyt, niin se oli ihan hauskaa.
Aika innovatiivinen tapa kuunnella musiikkia.
Jep, kyllä. Oman biisin lisäksi tietenkin myös löytyi myös ihan muutakin hyvää tavaraa.
Ja laidasta laitaan kaikenlaista musiikkia. Siellä oli trashia ja
alternativeja ja vähän sellaista deadistä ja death metallia. Niin. Se on tosi monenlaista musiikkia.
I wanted it to be more about like exploration. There's this element of chance to it. We're not like putting bits of metal into the ground so that the audience can find music. They have to find the music. Mostly the archaeology component is about uncovering. It's about discovering, unearthing, those kind of metaphors. And that's the metaphor that's connected to, like, say, underground music, this idea of the underground. And why do we use that specific term to define music which is set apart from mainstream culture? I like that term, and why don't we make a literal interpretation of that uncovering?
Mielenkiintoinen ja hauska kokemus, että mitä sieltä maan alta käytännössä kuuluu. Eli tulee niin kuin aitoa heavy metallimusiikkia, kun osuu johonkin metallisuoneen.
Se ei heavy metal ole pelkästään semmoista, mitä möröt kuuntelee pimeässä, vaan siitä voidaan tehdä ihan niin kuin tämmöisiä tapahtumiakin. Ja itse tulin tähän lähinnä sen takia, että ei heavy metal ole pelkkää musiikkia, se on elämäntapa. Vähän tutkailin, niin hyvin semmosia niin kuin vähän tuntemattomampia bändejä, ettei ole niitä tämän hetken top 10 bändit siinä, vaan paljon semmosia uusia tuttavuuksia, joista katsoin sitä listaan mukana olevista bändeistä, niin olin kuullut ehkä muutamasta. Sitten piti vähän ennakkoon perehtyä ja siellä oli paljon hyvää kamaa.
Cities have very varying types of soundscapes. This could be traffic of cars moving back and forth, children playing in a playground. But there are hidden soundscapes also, which are kind of embedded in culture of locations. What drew me to do this project in Helsinki is interest in the subculture of metal. In Helsinki. I think metal is part of the soundscape of Finland. I mean, Finland is the only country I've ever been to where you go on a bus and the driver is there listening to the rock station, and I never had that experience in Ireland or anywhere else I lived.